So today we are starting with verse number 21. So the way the chapter is, if you remember this, the acronym for the chapter was DEAD, D-E-A-D. The first four verses are Arjun asking doubts and Krishna answering doubts. Then out of the 8 questions that Arjun asked in the first 2 verses, Krishna answers those in the 7 of those in the 3rd and 4th verse. But for the 8th verse, what happens at the end of the life, Krishna really takes up the whole chapter. But then specifically, he just gives a very condensed foundational principle that if you remember me when you're leaving your body, you'll come to me. Or whatever you remember leaving your body, you'll come to me. So that was E in the dead. And then A was attaining the supreme, right? We talked about how different people attain the supreme. And that's going to go up to 22. And then the last part of it, 23 to 28, will be about devotion. Because we will read in the 22nd, I think is the verse where Krishna says that it's only by devotion you can achieve me. Then he has to explain, how do you do that devotion? What does it mean? Okay. So he's going to take a detour in that and he's going to explain that. So we are in the A and the D section of the last. Okay. So 20 years. Okay, so they was talking about the manifest and manifest nature. Krishna was mentioning about the spiritual world and the material world. So we were discussing that. Okay, so then comes verse number 21. That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. So now Krishna is very specifically talking about his abode. He's saying my supreme abode. Right? So because this section from 7 to 12 is about bhakti. So Krishna is going to bring himself in the picture because there is no bhakti without Krishna in the picture. So Krishna is telling about his abode now. Right? So he's taking us to that level. So he's introducing the reality which is beyond the manifest and the unmanifest state of nature. Right? Up to 19, right? 1920 we read how manifest universe is Brahma's state. Okay, and then when that universe becomes unmanifest, that's Brahma's night. And then it gets manifest again the next day. So that's Brahma's day. And then unmanifest again. So the cycle keeps going again and again. So Brahma lives for 100 years. And then every day he sleeps, wakes up, sleeps, wakes up. And that whole thing happens. Right? And somebody might think that, oh, if I could reach the unmanifest state, I'm liberated. I'll become eternal. But that's not the case. Nobody becomes eternal by getting into the unmanifest part of Brahma's night. That's not eternal. No, Krishna is telling us there is another unmanifest reality, which is way beyond this material world, where the manifestation of this material universe is happening. Right? So there are 3 levels that Krishna is described as: manifest material world, unmanifest material world, and then unmanifest spiritual world. Unmanifest for us. Unmanifest does not mean that it's not existing. Unmanifest for us because it's not manifest to our material senses. That's what Krishna is saying. Just like, there are many things in this world that are unmanifest to us, even though the radio waves are invisible. The internet is unseen, but it's real. Right? So all these things, they are unmanifest to us in one sense, because we don't have material senses that can understand them or see them technically. That's so right. So, and then from which having attained, that is my supreme abode, right? So this place is eternal, it's supreme destination, and this place never ends in one. The spiritual world never ends; it always exists. Right? In the material world, there are those 6 things, right? We talked about birth, growth. There is maintenance, production, decline, and death. The spiritual world is nothing like that. There is no creation or dissolution happening in the spiritual world. Right? So that's why it's called the supreme destination, Paramam Gatim, from which one never returns. Okay. And Prabhupada in the purport, he's referring to Brahma Samhita. He's talking about Chintamani. Chintamani Prakarasadmashu Kalpa Vriksha. Likshetu Chintamani Prakarasadmashu Kalpa Vriksha. I forgot what's the it's missing out. But yeah, so he's talking about their Chintamani Dham of Krishna, which is the Golok Vrindavan. There are, Krishna is saying, thousands of goddesses of fortune, they are serving Krishna, Govinda. So these goddesses of fortune who's being talked about are the gopis, that spiritual world. And Krishna there's a very clear description of how Krishna looks. He has his flute, he wears a saffron cloth, a garland around his neck, a peacock feather. So when there is a deity in the temple, it's not something that human beings have thought it, oh yeah, this is the way Krishna would look. Right? Because our Shastras give a very clear description of what Krishna looks like, we can make deities. Whereas in comparison to others, and you might have heard the story when, I think, who was that guy? Was it? I forgot his name. There was a painter who was painting I don't know if you've seen this. There's a cathedral in Paris, and there's a mural. There's a wall. There's a painting in the ceiling. The painting you all might have seen, right? There's a old guy, sitting up in the clouds, and there's this man, and their fingers are coming.
Michelangelo.
Okay, Michelangelo was the painter. Yes. So he painted it, and then he was asking the priest there that, how does God look like? You're asking me to paint God. And then everybody just thought that, oh, God's been maintaining this universe for a long time, so he must be an old guy. So that painting shows God as an old person. Because they don't have any concept of God, they don't have that, their Shastras don't give that, they have to resort to their mental speculation. For us, it's not that the case. We never speculate on how Krishna looks. We've been given a very clear definition of how Krishna looks. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many verses. There's 10th canto, if you read the 14th chapter, the first verse, Brahma is talking about Krishna's form. Right? And then gopis are talking about him. There's another verse where the Brahmana's wives, they talk about Krishna, how they see Krishna. So there's a very clear description of Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada is, and Prabhupada is also referring to Brahma Samhita to confirm that for us. Okay. And then Prabhupada towards the end, he's telling us Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are non-different, being of the same quality. On this earth, 90 miles out of Delhi is a replica of that supreme Golok Vrindavan, located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on this earth, he sported on that particular tract of land known as Vrindavan, comprising about 84 square miles in the district of Mathura, India. So Prabhupada is telling us that how they are, there's Goloka, there is Golok Vrindavan, and there is Vrindavan in this material world also, where Krishna comes and he does his pastimes, right? So there are 4 Vrindavan, the Shastras tell us. There is Golok Vrindavan, there is Vrindavan in this material world, right? Bhauma Vrindavan, as it's called. Then Vrindavan we create at our home. There is a song by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It's called Shuddha Bhakta Charanare. So in that song, uh, he sings that Je dine grehe bhajana dekhi grihate goloka bhava. That when I do devotional service at my house looks like Golok Vrindavan. Right? So that's another Vrindavan that we all can create. And then there is a Vrindavan that devotees create within their heart. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 13th verse, 13th chapter, verse number 10, Yudhishthira is talking to Vidura. Vidura has come back. The whole Mahabharata has happened. Yudhishthira is the king now, and Vidura has come back. And Yudhishthira says, Bhagavad Vida Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibhu. So, Tirtha Kurvanti Tirthani Swanthastina Gatavrta. That devotees like you, they carry the spiritual, the dham in your heart, in their own heart, right? So devotees carry dham in their heart. Their purity, they purify the holy dhams. That's the purity of a devotee, right? So we were at New York Rath Yatra. Some of you might have been there. I was at New York Rath Yatra, and for some time I was thinking that how wonderful this town is, this city is, because Prabhupada walked on this city. He went to the Bowery, and then he was living at the 26th Second Avenue, and from there he would walk about a mile to Tompkins Square Park, and he would do kirtan there. So how wonderful! It's a dham for us. New York City is a dham because Prabhupada walked on it. So that's another dham that a devotee can create. When a pure devotee comes to a place, that place is never the same. Holy name is all pervasive there in New York City. You see, it's an amazing place. So it's a wherever a pure devotee goes, he creates embassies of the spiritual world. You cannot just the effect of a pure devotee walking in a place is indelible. All the temples Prabhupada has opened, they're like spiritual embassies. The initial 108 that he started, all of them, they are like spiritual embassies. So, okay, a question for everybody. How do we, I have this doubt sometimes, so I'm just putting it out. I have clarified it for myself, but I would like to ask you all. How is it that how to see that this Bhoma Vrindavan, right? We go to Vrindavan, we see it's a very dirty place. It's a how is that earth? How is that earth Vrindavan a replica, as Prabhupada is telling us? Where is that word he's using? Is a replica. So replica means it's exactly like that. So how is it a replica? How would you, if somebody comes and asks you that, hey, it looks like Prabhupada just was talking metaphorically. He didn't mean it. No, Prabhupada is actually saying it. It's a replica. So how would you convince somebody that this earth Vrindavan is a replica of Golok Vrindavan? That's my question. Smaller, let me see. Anybody wants to give it a try? Give it a try. It's not that there's
Prabhuji,
anything.
maybe I have some thoughts, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Prabhu might be because we have materialistic eyes, because we cannot, when we will do pure bhakti with the full devotion, and we will also meditate the lotus feet of Krishna, then maybe we can see the beauty of Brindavan. Otherwise, in the materialistic eye, we cannot see that, Prabhu. So
Yeah.
whoever in that stage, then only they can see the replica of Golok Vrindavan. That's what Prabhupada wants to mean that.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yes, the dham is spiritual, but our vision is material. Yeah. And Krishna actually says this, right? He says that in which chapter is that? I think the ninth one, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavrita. That I'm not manifest to everyone, but I get covered by Yoga Maya. So similarly, Vrindavan is not visible to everyone, right? A pure devotee can see Krishna's pastimes, he can see the spiritual atmosphere, but then for a materialistic person like me, then it becomes I see traffic, garbage, monkeys, crowd, commercialism, right? So the vision is different. Anybody else, any thoughts? How would you explain it?
Um, by hearing from the saints, like by hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, just what you were saying. Sorry, you wanted to say something. I can continue after.
No, I was just saying that, yes, that's the right point. By hearing it comes, but I want to see how would you explain it to a person who's fairly new into bhakti, has no clue, and suddenly you tell that person, oh, this Vrindavan is exactly the Golok Vrindavan. How would you convince somebody? That was more of my question. Yes, go ahead, please, Deepti.
So, based on what you just said about like the energy or the potency of a pure devotee, if they step on a land like that becomes a dham, like the Tompkins Square you were talking about, that becomes a dham. So
Yeah.
the Vrindavan, not now, but at least 5,000 years ago, Krishna had like he walked on that ground, right? So it's Krishna himself. It's
Yeah, that's
like the
a good
Supreme
point.
Lord
Yeah.
himself. So of course that place has its own energy, own spirituality. And then again, what Shivani Mataji was saying that, yeah, due to the Kali Yuga, now the situation is like that. But that's again what we are seeing through a material eyes. But actually, we have to understand that that place is pious on its own because Krishna had he walked on that land. So it is.
Yeah. That's a good point also. Yes, yes. A dham, once a pure devotee has walked on it and Krishna has walked on it, it might get covered, but it never gets contaminated. That's a good point, right? Like I was thinking when you were speaking, I was thinking of an analogy of a sun, right? Like a sun can get, you can see a sun's reflection in a muddy pool, right? But then that the reflection appears dirty, but the sun itself is never dirty. So yes, the dham is still a dham. Yeah, but we see that, but it's not contaminated. Like, there is a verse in the Nectar of Instruction where we are told that, what's that? Gangam Basham Budbuddha Phena Pankhe. That's the sixth verse, where we are told that people who know the value of Ganga, even though they might be, some contaminants look like there are bubbles in there or, froth is there, they just remove it because they know the value of Ganga. So yes, so it can be covered, but it doesn't get contaminated because a pure devotee has walked on it, Krishna has walked on it. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, I think also like we feel it, like I mean, like Mataji said, we're in material world, but it actually takes us there. Like when I went to Vrindavan, I was just like, for the first time in my life, right? You're like, oh my God, you feel it. So like Mataji said that Krishna was here. He walked the earth. He walked the dham. And that's how we can tell that this was Vrindavan, or this is Vrindavan.
Yes, by your own realization. That's a very good thought, because the best way to progress in bhakti is through our own realization. Yes, people can tell me a million things, oh, Krishna, beautiful Krishna, you know, taste of chanting. But until as I don't realize it for myself, I don't experience it, I won't progress. So yes, when your realization, your feeling the Vrindavan Dham can also convince others, and they can also feel it. Everybody has that opportunity. It's a open opportunity for everyone. Thank you.
And I think Prabhuji also the state of mind, like when I went to India like 2 years ago, right? It was the first time I went to India, and I was, you hear a lot of things, right? I mean, mainly like a lot of negative things about India. And when I went, I was just like, just something different, completely different. Nothing what people said. Everybody was like, be
Yeah.
careful, this and that, pocket chorega and all of that stuff. And I mean, Prabhuji said, are you going to be okay? I said, I'm going to go see Krishna, and he will take care of me. And that's the thought I went with. And I came back smiling, happy, and all of that. So it's also how we feel, how when we get there, even before we get there.
Yes, thank you. Adishwari, yes, please tell me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
I heard this once about, it's sort of like, because of all these things we're studying and purifying our hearts and our minds and how we feel when we're there and our mindset, it's almost, or it is like there's like another dimension sort of there. It's like we can't see it, but it's there, sort of like radio waves. And Krishna and Radha are there doing their pastimes simultaneously. It was just a thought because I heard that at some point, and I've never experienced India, but maybe you can elaborate.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's another dimension. Yeah, you can see that it's another dimension there, and we just cannot see it because it's covered from us. It's we're not ready yet to relish that. So therefore, it's not manifesting in front of us. But for a pure devotee like Prabhupada, all these things were manifesting right in front of his eyes. I always remember, in Lilamrita, there's an episode where Prabhupada was doing kirtan in this big, very big hall. It was early on in the 67, 66 or somewhere about that time. And Prabhupada was telling his disciples, hey, did you see Indra was here, Narad Muni was here. Right? So all these demigods and everything, that's manifest to a pure devotee. For us, it's a tough thing because we're not at that level of purity yet. Thank you. So yes, so this is something, this is an important thing, because people will come to you with doubts, and you all being Bhakti Shastris should have answers to them. even if you don't have a direct answer, but on the basis of your knowledge, you should be able to condense an answer, to frame an answer, or at least direct them in a direction, put them in a direction where they can get that answer for themselves. So it should be that should be the mindset. Okay, another question which I wanted to ask you all is, Prabhupada talks about Krishna's personal abode, Golok Vrindavan. Okay, it says the spiritual, supermost planet in the spiritual world. It's good to know that, but then um, okay, what the way I would frame this question is, how would you accept that this Goloka is the truth? How would you, again, either for yourself also, and how would you explain it to somebody else? Somebody comes and say, "Oh, this looks very fantastical to me." Then you're telling me there's a world that never changes. People don't grow old, and everything is fun and happy going, and there are no miseries and all that. So how have you accepted this, and how would you convince this to others? That's a question for you all. Somebody who has not spoken, give it a try.
Prabhu, I can try.
Yes. Prabhu.
And Prabhu, I'm not going to be able to directly answer this question, but what I can say is that, the current shloka we just read, right? You're talking about two unmanifestations, right? Unmanifest things. One is like what we think in terms of duality, right? Because human beings, we can only think in terms of duality, right? What we see is the manifest world. And we think that there should be something that's opposite of this, which is unmanifest. And that's where our thinking stops, right? Because our mind is just dualistic. Prabhu. And but what we're talking about in terms of Krishna's abode, it's obviously not what we can think of. So it has to be above these two dualities. So a third unmanifested world, which is outside of this manifest and unmanifest world that we can think of. So, so when we are saying Krishna, right, he is not in a material world, that we see, manifested world. He is not in the unmanifest world, which we can think of. He's in a world which is outside of these two, which is the Golok Vrindavan itself. And, so unless you realize that kind of reality, it's not easy to kind of, because our mind is limited.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. I like that very much. What I'll just do is, so what you're telling me is a very good answer. You're right, hit the nail on the head. We always back things with Shastra. For example, what you told me, if I have to put it in a more Shastric reference way, there are three ways of knowing things, right? As we have read, there's Prataksha, there is Anuman, and there is Shabda. Pratyaksh means direct perception, what we see. And Anuman is by inference and reasoning. And that's what you were talking about, that we can only see two-dimensional. That's what you were saying. We only can limit ourselves in Prataksha and Anuman. That's all where we live.
Yep.
But then there is a Shabda Praman, which is hearing from a trustworthy authority. And that's what you're referring to, because that's what we are reading from Prabhupada. And you're quoting the verse. So that's what we are reading from Prabhupada. And that's a trustworthy authority that we all have. So answer was perfect. When you bring some Shastra along with it, that adds a lot of weight to it. That's the way. That's why I request all of you to memorize verses and know what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. But your answer was perfect. I just added some Shastric points to it. Yeah, because Golok Vrindavan is beyond the reach of our first two things, Prataksha and Anuman. It can only be understood through the Shabda. And because we already accept so many authorities, there's so many authorities, right? And we are born, we are told, okay, this person is your father. You don't go checking with DNA match or anything like that running. Yeah, somebody told, your mother told me, my mother told me, okay, this person is your father. Fine, I accept it, right? So we're born, okay, my father told me, oh, you're born in a Hindu family. Okay, fine, whatever. So there are a lot of things that we accept just on the basis of authority in the material world also. And these Shastras are coming right from Krishna, right? They're given to us by Bhagavan himself, so we can believe in them. So we already accept many things by authority. And the question comes, which authority is trustworthy? That's what we have to ask. Because we are told many things in our life, but then are they truth? I don't know, not always. Many times we are told lies that we accept. So my father would tell me that just finish school and then life is all fun. And I can't believe that he told me and I believed in it. So yeah, so it's just we are told many things. But when we see Bhagavad Gita, it's an authority in itself. And that's what Krishna does in Bhagavad Gita. He does not ask us to blindly follow him. Bhagavad Gita invites examination. Krishna wants us to examine everything. So Krishna does not start by saying, first accept Goloka. No. He gradually builds that teaching up. Second chapter, you're not this body, you're a soul. Third chapter, you have uncontrolled desires. Rajas, that's what causing the whole misery. Do some, third chapter, then again, we read, do some reciprocation with this universe, right? And then as we went on, right, there were chapters and yoga was talked about. So Krishna builds upon it. And a practitioner can verify these in his life. So that's where the Shastra comes. When we go to school, right, there you read physics and the professor says or the teacher says that there are black holes out there. You say, okay, fine, I accept it. Because we see the professor as an authority. Right? So yes, so we learn it through Shabd Praman. Right? So devotees adopt an attitude that I do not have yet a realization of Golok Vrindavan, but I trust what Krishna is teaching me, the Vedas are teaching me, and more importantly, what the Sadhu and Guru are teaching me. I'll continue the process and see where it leads me. Right? So it's not a blind following or a blind belief. So yeah, so that's something. So that was a good answer, Prabhu. Thank you.
I guess so since it is beyond our thinking realm, it all makes sense like to me that no matter how I try, ultimate goal will only be achieved. It comes tops down, bottoms up, right? Because I can never reach physically, and I my best. I mean, I can do my, but see hello.
Yes, it has to come from the top. I cannot raise my hand and pluck it. Yes, I think your voice was a bit breaking a bit, but yeah, I think I understood that. So yes, it's we cannot raise our hand and pick it up. It has to come to us. Yes, we have to put in our efforts, but that knowledge has to come to us from Krishna. He gives it to us. Okay. Yes, thank you. And this word that it's in the purport, the translation, Vedantis. So Vedantis is somebody who knows the Vedas, right? So Prabhupada's name was Bhakti Vedanta. So Bhakti Vedanta means ultimate understanding of Vedanta. What is the ultimate understanding of Vedanta? Is Bhakti. That is why Prabhupada is called Bhakti Vedanta. Right? So that's Krishna using the word here, Vedantis. And Prabhupada is translating that. And Krishna says that in the 15th chapter. Sarvasya chaham hirdaya sanivishto mata smriti jnanam apuhanam cha vedesha sarveraham veva vedyo. I'm the only one to be known through Vedas. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, the 22nd verse is an important one because Krishna here is clearly telling us, yes, Arjuna, I have told you all that, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he's present in his abode, he's all-pervading and everything is situated within him. So there are a few verses in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna very bluntly tells about unalloyed devotion, right? Purusha saparapartha bhaktya labhyas tu ananya bhakti. So there are many places Krishna does that in Bhagavad Gita, and there is in the I think in the 11th. Let me see if I can find it. There is in the 11th chapter, no, 13th. 11th, I think it comes towards the end of 11th chapter. 53. Let's see what 53. 54. Yeah, so this is the 54th verse, 11th chapter. Bhaktya to ananya shakya. Again, the same truth. Bhaktya and ananya, unalloyed devotion. Right? And then it also comes in the 18th chapter. Krishna says this again in the 18th chapter also. So what I'm saying, I'm just giving you some references so that you can keep that in mind, that where does Krishna clearly tell us bhakti is the only path to come? Because just 54, no, 55. Yeah, Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tattvata. One can understand me as I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead only by devotional science. So these are three verses which I just brought out, 1855 and was it 1154? 1154, and then what we are reading right now, that is 822. So these three verses are important. You should all have that on your tips that, okay, I know where exactly Krishna tells us bhakti is the most important thing. So these three verses. That's what Krishna is telling us. And alloyed devotion takes us to that. So interesting thing what Krishna is telling us here. He's present in his abode. He's all pervading and everything is situated within him. So it looks like a bit of a conundrum here. He's in everything and everything is in him also. That's what Krishna is practically saying. He is in his abode. Okay, he lives in Golok Vrindavan. That we can understand. He is all pervading. That also we understand. He is Paramatma. He's sitting everywhere. But then he says everything is situated within him also. So he is in everything and everything is situated within him. Well, that's an interesting way of putting it. So how is that possible, right? If we are inside a room, the room can't be inside us, right? Or if something we have eaten is inside us, we can't be inside it, right? So how do we understand that? Everything is in Krishna, right? So Mahavishnu is a manifestation of Krishna. So all the universes emanate from him. And when every destruction happens, all the universes go back to him. So that's how everything is within him, right? Krishna, everything is within him, right? And how is Krishna in everything? That we already talked about as a super soul. So that's the way to understand it. That in Mahavishnu, everything is situated in Mahavishnu. So those two things become very clear for us. Everything is situated within him means in Mahavishnu. And then he's all pervading in everything as the super soul. And he's present in his abode as Krishna, Sham Sundar Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So that's the way to understand it. Okay? So, and why is devotion the only means to comprehend Krishna, or to understand Krishna? And as we just talked about, Krishna is transcendental to all our material conceptions and categories. So we cannot understand him from a material perspective. So his greatness, his sweetness can only be understood when we become transcendental to all those notions, the material concepts. At least we diligently start practicing. Then that transcendence becomes clear to us. So we have to go through a purificatory process. And unless we don't go through that purificatory process, we cannot understand Krishna, right? We will continue to make mistakes. We'll do aparadh by telling Krishna, oh no, Krishna he's a Hindu god, he's a poet, he's a diplomat, he's a myth. Some people call him a myth. Or he was a Casanova, he has so many girlfriends, so forth. Some people say all this because they don't have that understanding. They have not gone through the purificatory process. And that purificatory process is only bhakti. Otherwise, there is no purificatory process. Okay? So if we try to put Krishna in our conceptual framework, conceptual material framework, then we are actually making a huge mistake, because then our devotional prospects will just die out, because I'm trying to understand Krishna through my material senses. We should not do that. Okay? We should just understand from. But then that doesn't also mean that we should give up our intelligence. We should not reject our intelligence either. As I've heard Chaitanya Charan Prabhu say that many times, that don't don't give up your intelligence. Understand Krishna with your intelligence. That's something similar to he says that. Right? So, because Krishna himself is saying that, he's saying that, Arjun, yathe ichchasi tatha kuru. I have taught you everything. You're an intelligent person. Do it for yourself now. Right? What do you want to do? So that's what is Krishna is asking us, right? That, okay, please, Arjun, think about it. And then it's up to you. Use your intelligence. Right? So, but nowadays the problem is people don't want to use their intelligence. There is a there's a saying in Hindi, right? They call lakir ka fakir, or as if you translate that into English, is that There are people who are stickler for rules. They are set in their own way, as they say in English. So those people don't want to think. But Krishna, on the other hand, is asking us to think. That's what he's doing. He's not asking us to reject our intelligence. So when we think with that faith in Krishna, right? And so when we do that devotional service, use our intelligence, say, no, this is something I want to do. I've seen others doing it. I've seen the benefit they're getting. I also want to do it. And you do use that faith and humility and you progress on that path. Krishna's transcendental nature becomes manifest to us. No other process can help one attain that supreme abode. Okay. Okay, so now Krishna is going to take a slight detour because he's told about Ananya Bhakti. Can anybody remember a verse where this Krishna is talking about this Ananya Bhakti? There's a verse, right? That Krishna, it comes in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. It's a very famous verse where we are told about this Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti. Anybody remembers that verse? It's a very famous verse. Mati, do you have your hand up or from past? Or say something.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I had my hand up from the past.
Okay. It's okay.
Just wanted to mention that I think even with bhakti, right? We can feel it, right? That that Krishna is guiding us, taking us, in his direction. But the idea is for us to understand and go with that instead of a lot of people. I think sometimes they more lete hai, right?
Yeah, turn away from it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the verse I'm referring to from Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu is Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma navratam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uchyate. That bhakti has to be anukul. It has to be favorable. Because even comes a word remembering Krishna 24/7, but that was not anukul bhakti. That was not favorable bhakti. Okay? And the word Anyabhilashita shunya means unalloyed. When Prabhupada came, once Prabhupada had, settled down in America, he was in Boston once, and he asked Brahmanand Prabhu to drive him to the Boston docks where Prabhupada had landed. And Prabhupada knew the way exactly. That was very surprising to Brahmanand Prabhu. He knew exactly where to go and all that. He's been there a long time. And Prabhupada took him to a place where Prabhupada got off the ship, and what did Prabhupada see as the first thing was, it said Boston Unalloyed Steel. There was a company called Boston Unalloyed Steel. They had their, that name there somewhere on the dock. And that's what Prabhupada saw. And that's how Prabhupada brought that word unalloyed in that process. So Prabhupada, we all should do that. We all should learn from our surroundings how it can help us in bhakti. Prabhupada would do that all the time. Okay, so that was it. Okay, and so now Krishna has told Arjun, what is unalloyed devotion? Only by unalloyed devotion you can come to me. So now Krishna is going to take a detour. Krishna is going to take a detour and tell us that, okay, yes, unalloyed devotion. So basically what Arjun can ask is, okay, what happens to those who don't have unalloyed devotion? They're somewhere in the middle, Mishra Bhakti, they're doing mixed devotion. So then Krishna is going to take a slight detour and tell about those people, but eventually in the last verse, that's the 28th verse, Krishna will tell Arjun, hey, everything is achieved by doing bhakti. So we'll go through it, but let's go to that. So now Krishna is going to tell him that, O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. So Krishna is going to take a slight detour. So he's talking, Yatra kale tu anavrittim, avrittim chaiva yogina, prayantayanti tam kalam, vakshami bhartar shavam. So he's now going to tell us about the paths. and two ways by which a yogi can come back to this material world or cannot come back to this material world. And Prabhupada is telling us here, he brings everything back to bhakti. Where is that? Let's read this purport actually. The unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are totally surrendered souls, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hands and so easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga must leave the body at a suitable time and thereby be assured whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. Okay. We'll come back to this sentence. Let's close it. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material world. But if he is not so expert, his success depends on accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. The suitable times at which one passes away and does not come back are explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baldev Vidyabhushan, the Sanskrit word kal used herein refers to the presiding deity of time. So it's interesting here. Prabhupada is saying, but those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on methods of spiritual realization as karma, jnana, hatha yoga, must leave the body at a suitable time and thereby be assured whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. So, is Prabhupada saying that people who are doing karma yoga, jnana, bhakti, or hatha, if they leave the body at a suitable time, they will go to the spiritual world? Is that what Prabhupada is saying? That kind of contradicts the whole concept. What do you all think here? Any thoughts?
So Prabhuji, doesn't bhakti kind of automatically takes us towards the point where we can leave at a suitable time automatically, instead of like Bhishma Pita, right? He waited when he was leaving, but he waited for Krishna to come, and he wanted to see Krishna before he left, But because he was a yogi, he was a very good yogi, he was able to do that. But the ones who are not yogis, only thing we have is bhakti. And we have to create that suitable time.
I'm not talking about devotees. Devotees, whenever they leave, is perfect. No problem. Krishna is, Prabhupada is telling us that. What I'm asking is, looks like Prabhupada is telling us who depend instead on such methods of spiritualization as karma, jnana, hatha, must leave the body at a suitable time and there be assured whether or not they will return. So what I'm asking is, does it mean that people who are practicing karma, jnana, or hatha yoga, if they leave at the right time, they'll go back to the spiritual world? Is that what Prabhupada means here? That's what I'm asking all of you. Who all are there? Let's see. Let me see. Sanvi, you want to give it a try?
Wait, Virgie, can you please repeat the question one more time, please?
I'm asking that Prabhupada is saying here, this sentence is what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as karma, jnana, and hatha must leave the body at a suitable time and thereby be assured whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. So what I'm asking is Prabhupada saying that by practicing karma, jnana, hatha, we can leave a body at a suitable time and then reach the spiritual world? Is that what Prabhupada is saying? Because it sounds contradictory.
I don't think that's exactly what he's saying. I remember like one time, I don't remember where, but it might have been a Bhakti Vriksha, but like we were talking about like what if like when you're at like the time of death you like can't remember Krishna, but like you've like been like a devotee for like so long and stuff. And they said that Krishna will remember you, and like Krishna will like basically allow like you to remember him in like such a way like that. So I think that might be kind of what he's referring to. But if you're like
but he's not referring to devotees here.
Yeah.
That's what because that's what
think,
I wanted to understand.
but I think it's
So-
like in the sense that maybe if you have attained, like if you've done like karma yoga or jnana yoga and stuff like at such a high level, in the sense that you are able to develop some sort of like attachment, maybe, possibly.
Deepti, yes, please tell me.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So, Sanvi just touch on that point which I was gonna say. So these, if you read carefully, it says that Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, and Hatha Yogi must leave the body at a suitable time in order to be sure whether or not they will return. So it's not a guarantee that they're gonna be liberated. It depends on their level or their consciousness, how pure they are, what level of advancement they have. Even if you're a Gyan Yogi or Hatha Yogi or Kama Yogi, even to leave a body, you need to be like prepared for that, that I can leave my body unconsciously. And only top level yogis can do that. Not everybody can do it voluntarily. So
So
yeah,
are you saying that karma yogis, Gyan and Hatha yogis, they can attain that level of purity without bhakti? Is that what you're saying?
they it's very technical. It's not about devotion. They cannot attain, they don't do bhakti, right?
Yeah, that's right. So,
But
okay.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
it says yoga. So yoga means bhakti. So karma yoga means it is with bhakti, with Krishna. It has a karma part, yes, but the karma yogi is like some mixed bhakti, mixed devotion. So they are
Okay,
not
yeah.
just karma kandi, it's karma
So
yogi.
it's not unalloyed devotion, it's alloyed devotion. It's mixed
Yeah.
devotion.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, that's the
Prabhuji,
right.
So
That's the
if
right
they
answer.
are mixed devotion, then Lord will help them.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, somebody else was saying something.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I wanted to add the point that, the unalloyed devotees who are like, bhakti yogis, who's in bhakti, they are in continuous, in remembrance of Krishna. They think about Krishna all the time. So even at the time of death, because they have been continuously thinking about Krishna, even at the time of death, they think about Krishna. So in that way, they have high opportunity, like high chances to go to Krishna's lok, Golok Dham. But these karma yogi and these materialistic people, they think about Krishna when they need something, or they think about demigods when they need something. So it's not necessary that at the time of death they will be thinking or they will be able to remember Krishna. So if they are like with the example of Ajamil, he was not thinking about Krishna. It was just a situation like where he called his son Narayan. In that way, he could get some moksha. But it does not happen with everybody. It does not happen with karma yogi because they are not able to think about Krishna at the time of death. So that's my opinion about these lines.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. Yes. I think Jaya pointed it out for us clearly because it's alloyed devotion. We all are doing mixed bhakti. No, none of us is, at least I'm not at that level of purity. I'm doing mixed bhakti. I'm doing karma also. I do some knowledge work also. So for a person who's practicing mixed devotion, for him or her, leaving at a suitable time would be helpful of going back to spiritual world. That's a chance there. For a pure devotee, no problem. Whenever that person leaves the body, no problem. But for a person who is doing mixed bhakti, this sentence stands for those people. So yes, karma yogi, jnana yogi, they are not purely doing just karma. They are not karma kandis. They are doing mixed bhakti. So they're in mishra bhakti. So that's what Prabhupada is telling us, that people who do mishra bhakti, they can, uh, there is a chance of going back to the spiritual world if they leave the body at the right time. For a pure devotee, there is no problem. He can leave whenever that person is ready. And pure, as you were saying, that Nityananda, that person is thinking about Krishna and all the time, and he's just ready to go back. There's nothing stopping him whenever he dies, whenever or not. And then I think Sanvi was mentioning that if a person is leaving his body and he doesn't remember Krishna, Krishna will remember. So there's no problem for a pure devotee. 100% going back home. But for mishra bhakti, it's a chance. It's a 50-50 chance. So that's what Prabhupada is
Prabhuji, I had
saying.
one more
Yes.
thing I wanted to add. So, reading into this a little bit more deeper, just because you are a yogi doesn't mean that you will, like you said, doesn't mean that you will attain. The only way to attain is by doing everything 100% completely without fault, right? Then only you will get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhu, because I mean, so when Jnana Yogi and Karma Yogi we're talking about here, right, are the ones who are perfected in that regard. Jnana Yogi isn't perfect, right? But whoever is like not perfect yet, like somebody myself, right? I mean, I'm not in any of those categories, right? So,
Well, you're a bhakta. You're a devotee.
yeah, but
Yes. So as I was saying, we all are doing mixture bhakti, mixed. We do devotion also, but we're doing karma also. We're doing jnana also. So we're doing mishra bhakti. So this verse is for mishra bhakti. This whole section now Krishna is going to talk about. These are for people who are doing mishra bhakti. Right? So it's not unalloyed devotees. Prabhupada is clearly telling us no problem for unalloyed. But for alloyed devotees who have mixtures, then it's a problem. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for people who are doing alloyed bhakti, then that person can be, there's a 50-50 chance. And now Krishna is going to tell us the two paths, so a person who is practicing some bhakti, right? Those who know that Supreme Brahman attained the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery God in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So Krishna is telling us about that. And we know that the example of Bhishma is always there. Right? Bhishma waited till Uttarayana, right? So he waited till Uttarayana and then he kind of left his body, right? So that's what Krishna is telling us. It's Agnir Jyotir Ahar Shukla. There are those things Krishna is telling. Agnir Jyotir Ahar Shukla. Right? So, and there is a waxing moon and there's a waning moon. So waning moon is a decreasing moon, right? We have two Ekadashis, right? So one Ekadashi, from there the moon starts growing, and from the other one it starts to decrease. That's the way, right? Is that the way? That's the way I think. That's the first day, Ekadashi. Yeah. So yeah. So each that's the way it is. So the soul, when such a person leaves the body, then the soul is escorted to higher and higher abodes. That's what happens. And that's why there is a reference of Brahman here. Supreme Brahman. Attain that Supreme by passing away from the world. So all these are deities. There is deity of fire, there's a deity of light, and then there's a deity of the waxing moon. So all these deities, they actually take the soul upwards. That's what Krishna is telling us here. Right? So that's the way to understand it. So this is Shukla Paksh, right? In Sanskrit, there's a Shukla Paksh, there is Krishna Paksh. So this is the Shukla Paksh that are being told about him. And then such a person, when he leaves, then that person can go back home, back to the spiritual world. That's what Krishna is teaching us. So this is the beginning of the description of the process of means of departure. So fire, light, day, waxing moon, through that the person attains the supreme destination. And as you all know, that's the science, right? That Uttarayana means the sun then starts moving towards the north. And the Dakshinayana means it starts moving towards the south. That is why right now in Australia, it's winters, because it's Uttarayana is happening. The sun is up in the northern part of it's more focused on the northern part. So the southern part, they have winters there. When the sun moves towards the down, it becomes to Dakshinayana, towards the southern part of this earth. Then Australia will be hot, and then we will be cold. So that's what's happening here. That's what the two things, Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. It's Uttarayana is the journey of the sun to the north. And we see that the sun moves to the north for 6 months. I don't know if you see in your house, the sunlight is not going to come at the exact same place throughout the year. It'll keep changing. You can notice that. That's how. Okay, so yeah, so Krishna is taking a slight detour. Krishna is telling Arjun, yes, a pure devotee, no problem. But I can understand you might have this doubt that, hey, what happens to the mixed devotees? So Krishna is telling about that. That's what Krishna is indirectly telling us, hey, become a pure devotee and come back to me directly. Don't try to be somewhere in the middle. That's what Krishna is telling all of us. Prabhupada again brings us back to the basis. no fear of returning for a pure devotee, whether he leaves by an accident or arrangement. Many of Prabhupada's disciples, they left through an accident. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was in Mayapur. Mayapur? Yes, he was coming, I think, from Shantipur, Mayapur. Yeah, I don't remember the exact place. The driver fell asleep and they had an accident. All the people in the car died. So, one place is always the Krishna was saying. He left. So, yes, so it doesn't matter how a devotee leaves. They'll go back to the spiritual. No problem for them. Okay. Then the next one is the Krishna Paksh, right? We talked about this. The first one was Shukla Paksh. Here is Agnir Jyotir Aha Shukla. That's Shukla Paksh in Sanskrit we call them. And then the other one is Krishna Paksh. This is the Dhumo Ratri Tata Krishna. So there's an opposite of that. During the smoke, this is opposite to fire. During the day, night here is opposite. Waning moon, the moon that is decreasing in size versus the waxing moon in the earlier verse. And the 6 months that the sun is passing on the south, Dakshinayana. This is the complete opposite of the last verse. Such people, they come back again. That's what Krishna is teaching us here. So, and again, I wanted to highlight that these all are deities that carry that soul to other upward planetary system. So, Dhuma, Ratri, Krishna, Paksha, that's all. Yogi who goes on this path, that person returns back. So it's the post-mortem journey of the soul. And these are the deities that help that person in the journey. Basically, the journey that we will take after we leave this body will be the guidance of our super soul, because the super soul, based on what our desires, our propensities have been, he'll take us to another body. Right? But the soul also has to deal with material realms. Some devtas, they take care of that also. Depending on our karma, we can go up and down. We know that there are 7 planetary systems up and then there are 7 down. Yeah.
Prabhu, shouldn't it be like Krishna Paksh be the auspicious thing, because the name Krishna is there, right? But it seems like Krishna Paksh isn't that auspicious compared to the other one, Shukla Paksh.
Because here the word Krishna is not referring to Krishna Bhagavan, it's referring to darkness. So the word Krishna here is referring to darkness, not to him. Yeah, but I understand your point. Yes, it sounds a bit odd. It's a usage of the word here. Okay, so we talked about it, right? So now we're talking about Bhishma. So Bhishma looks like he was not in this one, not in Krishna Paksh. He was in Shukla Paksh. Right? So he left his body. But then he's a devotee of Krishna. So the reason that he waited for, because it was his humility, basically. That's what it is. So Bhishma attained his perfection of his devotion to Krishna because he was seeing Krishna when Krishna was leaving his body. There's a very beautiful verse that he was looking at Krishna when he was leaving his body. First canto, which chapter is it? Krishna, first canto, I think it's the 5th or 6th verse chapter, where Bhishma Dev leaves his body. You can read that chapter. There's a prayers of Bhishma there. There's a one verse that's a very beautiful verse that says that he's looking at Krishna when he's leaving his body. So for him, he didn't need it, but just because he's very humble, he wanted to live in Uttarayana. He was just being, that's a quality of a pure devotee, humility. Right? So if you look at it more technically, right, the war, Mahabharata, happened in Margashirsha, that is November, December, somewhere around that time. So Bhishma fell on the 10th day of the war, and then he waited for about 58 days. He waited for Makar Sankranti, right? As we all know, in India, Makar Sankranti is the time somewhere in the mid of January when Uttarayana begins, when the sun starts moving towards the north. That's Uttarayana. That's what Bhishma was waiting for. But as Prabhupada has told us, he didn't have to wait, but he was a very humble devotee. Okay. That's it. And then 26th. So according to the Vedic opinion, there are 2 ways of passing, one in light, one in darkness. Okay, so Krishna is just summarizing the last 2 verses. When one passes in light, he does not come back. When he passes in darkness, he comes back. So that's what we've been told here. Again, Prabhupada is talking about karmis and jnanis here. From time immemorial are constantly going and coming. They do not attain ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. So yeah, that's it. So there is no how to say, there's no lack of Krishna's mercy. There's no lack of his blessing or direction. The only lacking is my capacity. If I work on my capacity by having the right association, by diligently practicing the path shown by Prabhupada and the Acharyas, praying hard to get more capacity, Krishna will give us his mercy. We don't have to worry about these two paths. That's the whole essence of this. So don't get confused and distracted by these paths. Oh, I have to leave in this path or that path. Don't worry about anything. Just worry about bhakti. Increase your capacity for bhakti. And Krishna is clearly telling us here, because he started his discussion with Shuddha Bhakta, he's bringing it back that yes, Arjun, people mix Bhakta, they can distracted. For a devotee, the devotee knows these two paths, Arjun, they are never bewildered. Therefore, we always be fixed in devotion. The word Krishna is using is yoga yukto. We always be fixed in devotion. Right? So Arjun might think that, oh, I'm fighting a war, my victory might not be guaranteed, I can be killed at any time, right? So Krishna is thinking, oh, timing is very important. So I told you that the war started in Dakshinayana, right? So he's already has anxiety. His faith is ridden with anxiety. So Krishna makes it clear that what yoga he wants us to practice. This verse is not referring to Ashtanga yoga. This is not referring to Jnana yoga, Karma yoga, Hatha yoga, nothing. This verse is only referring to bhakti. Bhakti, that's all. If we stay yoga yukta, we don't have to worry. We don't have to get agitated by time, place, circumstance, or any of that sort.
So probably in other words, this Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha is probably just symbolic, which says like darkness and light. If you are in ignorance, then you're gonna end up there. But if you are, bhakta, then you don't need to worry about any of that.
You don't have to worry about it. Yes. It's not symbolic in the sense it's not a metaphor. It actually exists. This process exists. But yes, for devotees, they don't have to worry about those processes.
I mean, Shukla is because the moon is growing, so it's Shukla Paksh. And then Krishna Paksh is going to disappear, so that's why it's dark, Krishna.
Yes.
Yeah. Because probably it seems a little weird, like anybody who dies within that time frame will always go. So I thought maybe it's more symbolic he meant,
No, go in the sense, as I said, this is for Mishra Bhaktas, mixed devotees. It is people who are practicing devotion and doing karma, practicing devotion, doing jnana, devotion with hatha yoga. There is some devotion. They're not purely jnana yogis or hatha yogis. No. For them, Prabhupada has clearly told us that we're talking about it. Those who are fruitive laborers, karma yogi, they're pure karma yogi. They're not doing any sort of bhakti. Who are doing jnana, pure jnana, there is no bhakti. They're constantly going and coming. They're still stuck in this material world. They don't go any, they never attain ultimate salvation because they have not surrendered to Krishna. People like us who have surrendered to Krishna but still have some material desires in the heart, we are doing some mixed bhakti. So this is for people like us that, oh yeah, you can also go back depending on when you leave your body. And that again, that's also Krishna's mercy when we leave our body. So we don't know how Krishna's mercy will manifest. But yeah, these are not necessarily metaphorical. They are actual processes.
Because Prabhu, if there was somebody completely ignorant, right, and they were to pass away in Shukla Paksha, then, I mean, kind of hard to put like time,
No, that's
time
what I'm saying. It's not for ignorant people. For ignorant people, Prabhupada is clearly telling us in the purport here, right? They don't go anywhere. They just keep circling in this world.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not talking about ignorance. The earlier verses, they talked about people who are doing Mishra Bhakti, mixed devotion. They have an intensity, they have a desire to do philosophical speculation also, but they're also engaged in bhakti. They are doing a lot of karmic activities. They have that rajas in them. Oh, I want to do karmic activities and fruitive labor, and I want to become a CEO of my company. There's still some rajas in their heart, but they're also doing some devotion. For them, it's a 50-50 chance. For an ignorant, it's zero chance. He can leave whenever he wants to. He'll go in hell. Krishna says this in the 6th chapter, right? Tam aham dvishta krodha sansareshu naradhanam. That I push people who are envious and mischievous. I push them in the in the ocean of material existence into various demonic species of life. So for ignorant, this is not that fun.
All right.
And the last verse is, this is Krishna is summarizing, right? Vedeshu yagyeshu tapashu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam ateti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upayati chadyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and spiritual activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So, idam viditva, that's the phrase that Krishna is using. Where is it? Idam viditva. So, idam viditva means this knowing. So, this knowledge that Krishna has given us in this chapter, 7th chapter. If you know this, you'll become bhakti yogi and param sthanam. You will attain ultimate destination. And you'll get benefit of all the other paths. Yajna, dana, and tapa, they are considered as the primary activities in Vedas. Krishna will talk about this. He'll say this in the 18th chapter, that people who become perfect, they don't even give up these activities, they don't give up. They keep doing them. These are dharmic activities. They're not transcendental activities, but people still keep doing them. Right? So focus on transcendence or bhakti will give us a far greater result than any of these paths. In the next chapter, Krishna will clearly talk about bhakti, right? So that's to understand. We have to follow dharma that's been given to us by Krishna. If we don't follow dharma, there is nothing. It's all useless then. Dharma swanishtita pumsham. Dharma swanishtita pumsham. Vishvaksena kathasu yaha. Na utpade yadi ratim. Shrama eva hi kevalam. It's just hard labor. If it doesn't bring devotion here, if you don't have devotion in your heart. So this is what Prabhupada does at the end of all the chapters. He gives a summary. So Prabhupada is going to give us a summary in this chapter, in this verse. Now. This verse is can somebody read this first paragraph? Just read this first paragraph, please.
I'll read.
Yeah.
This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the house of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya.
So Krishna talked about brahmacharya, right? In these 8th chapter in the beginning. That the brahmacharya badanti. So he talked about brahmacharya also. So Prabhupada is bringing that aspect. But the essence that Prabhupada wants to highlight is that we have to be under the guidance of a spiritual master. And we have to go under some austerities. So Prabhupada has given us 4 things not to do and 1 thing to do. Chanting to do and 4 regulative principles that are not to do. So the austerities we do under the guidance of a spiritual master. That's the first thing Prabhupada wants to highlight. Right? And then Prabhupada goes on to tell us about these, after a brahmachari, you can become a householder. And after the householder, you can retire from it and you can become vanprastha. And then after vanprastha, you become sannyasi. So he's giving us all the 4 paths here. However, Prabhupada wants to highlight that the beauty of this process is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of different orders of life. All the ashram and varnas that we have, all of that are taken care of by doing devotional service. That's what Prabhupada is highlighting for us here. Okay? And And then Prabhupada had that idam viditva indicates that one should understand the instruction given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The first 6 and the last 6 are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these mid 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified. So that's what Prabhupada is teaching us. These 6 chapters are extremely valuable. Okay. And here Prabhupada is giving us a process, right? One who has little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from the devotee. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and finally gets a devotee association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita, right? And then we advance and then we are placed in devotional service. And this dispels all our misgivings about Krishna. After that misgivings have been perfectly clear, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita, attains the state of feeling Krishna conscious. And then he comes in love, and then he becomes a pure devotee and he goes back home. So what is Prabhupada talking about here? Anybody can take a guess? Like, what is it that Prabhupada is highlighting here? We talked about 9 steps in Nectar of Instruction, right? Remember, anybody remembers those? It starts with Shraddha, ends with Prema. Anybody remembers those 8 steps?
Talking about Prema?
Well, Prema is the last step, but starts with Shraddha, right? You remember there are 9 steps
Yeah.
of Bhakti. How does it go?
Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha,
Yes.
Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema.
Yes, and that's what exactly Krishna Prabhupada is teaching us in this report. So he's starting with faith, Shraddha, right there. That's Shraddha right there. Then after Shraddha, you do Bhajan Kriya. Where is that? In association of devotees, right? You get devotees association. And then dispels all one's misgivings, Anartha Nivritti. Okay. So then Anartha Nivritti. And then comes, what is that? Fixed, Nishtha. That's Nishtha, Prabhupada's talking, Nishtha here. And then after Nishtha is that then attains the state of feeling. That's the taste, you relish it. That's Anartha Nivritti. After that, Nishtha is Ruchi. Okay? And then after Ruchi, then Prabhupada is telling us about Prema here, right? Bhava and Prema. So Prabhupada is walking us through all those things, how you progress on that path. So, yeah, in the last verse, always Prabhupada gives a summary of the chapter. Okay, this wraps up our chapter. I'll not start the 9th today. We'll start next week. Anybody has any comments, questions, thoughts, anything to share? No? Okay. I think today, or not today, probably 19th is the last day to submit your homework, right? I know some of you have reached out to me.